China's rich mining areas in the northeastern highland have become contested by rapidly deploying American and Chinese forces. The narrow canyons carved into this region channel both forces into inevitable head-on confrontations, as each seeks to secure the prized uranium mines with their advancing forces. In the context of this double assault, success will favor the bold, given the constrained nature of this rugged battlefield. This video is going to be a map analysis of the FuShePass map from Battlefield 2. We'll be looking at the real-life inspirations for the map, as well as the environment and layout of the map itself. We'll also be going over the flag points and equipment that both the USMC and PLA forces have at their disposal here. When researching the possible location of this map, I wasn't able to find any mountain pass in China with the exact same name of FuShePass. From the description of the map, it states that this pass is located in China's rich mining areas in the northeast highland. What corresponds as the northeast are the three provinces of Liaoning, Jilin, and Heilongjiang, and sometimes the northeast portion of Inner Mongolia as well. And apologies in advance if I completely butchered the pronunciation of those names. This region used to be known as a powerful industrial sector of the country. Industries included steel, automobile, aircraft, and shipbuilding manufacturing, as well as petroleum refining. But the provinces are most well known for their coal mining deposits. In recent years, however, the industry has been shrinking, causing the decline of its economic growth, which leads to some people referring to it as the Rust Belt of China. Looking at the map itself from Battlefield 2, it makes sense for us to see industrial buildings and have two mines as control points on the map. We could make the assumption then that these are coal mines, but the word Fushi, translated to English, means radiation. This could suggest that the mines here are not actually coal mines, but instead are uranium mines. This would make it all the more important for both the USMC and PLA forces to secure this map, in order to control the uranium deposits here. We also hear various ambient sounds throughout the map, some which are industrial sounds of the mining operations underway here, and also nature sounds outside the industrial areas. The number of control point locations varies depending on what size version of the map one is playing on. FuShePass has 3 map sizes, a 64-player, 32-player, and 16-player. I'll be focusing on the 64-player version, as the 32 and 16-player versions of the map are the same, except that they have less control points to capture due to the reduced play space and smaller player count. But I'll denote on the screen which control point locations are available on each versions of the map as I go through them. The 64-player version of FuShePass has a total of 10 control points, making it the second largest map in the game in terms of the number of points that it has. 8 of the points are neutral, and the other 2 represent each faction's main base. The 8 neutral control points are the Mountain Lookout, the East Mine Entrance, the Power Plant, the Security Headquarters, the West Mine Entrance, the Canyon Guard Post, the Bridge Camp, and the Upper Camp. The 2 points for the USMC and PLA are the Chinese Airfield and the US Airfield. Much of the fighting occurs in the middle of the map due to the concentration of control points here. In addition to the control points, there are 5 bridges found throughout the pass that vehicles and troops can use to get across the river. These bridges can be destroyed with explosives such as C4 and will require an engineer to repair them. There are also these two dams that can be used to cross the river as well, but unlike the bridges, they cannot be destroyed. There are also low areas in the middle of the map, where the water is shallow enough for troops and vehicles to cross. First, we'll take a look at the main bases for the United States Marine Corps, USMC, and People's Liberation Army, PLA. What these locations have in common with each other is that they cannot be captured by the opposing team, and are where each team's commander support structures are located. The Chinese Airfield is the main base of the PLA, and the starting point for all players on this team. The airfield is surrounded by a fence and has two entrances, one located near the barracks that leads down the hill toward these houses, and another near the hangars that goes toward the canyon guard point. There are 5 barracks, 2 carports, 2 hangars, and 2 guard towers here. For the commander support structures, the UAV trailer is located here, behind the hangars. The radar station is in between the 3 helipads here. 2 of the D-30 artillery guns are located just outside the airfield near the barracks, and the other one is located right outside the other entrance, near the hangars. As for the vehicles that spawn here, 2 Z-8 transport helicopters and 1 WZ-10 attack helicopter will spawn at the helipads. 2 J-20 jets will spawn in each of the hangars. 1 FAV will spawn under each of the carports, and another FAV will spawn near the barracks. 2 more FAVs will spawn near these small houses nearby the airfield, and 2 RIBs will also spawn under the fishing shack here as well. For the stationary emplacements, 1 Igla AA emplacement is located here, surrounded by sandbags, and 1 HJ-8AT launcher is located next to this building near the UAV trailer, and 1 more AT launcher is located near these houses. The US Airfield is the main base of the USMC and the starting point for all players on this team. And unlike the Chinese Airfield, the US Airfield is located right next to a village. This village has a lower level and upper level due to the base being built on a mountain. This location only really has one main entrance, and that is at the intersection where the road splits, to either go across the bridge or up the hill toward the mountain lookout point. There are 15 civilian buildings, 2 barracks, and 2 hangars at this point. These 2 buildings here can be garrisoned by infantry, and a HESCO wall that partially surrounds the airfield. For the commander support structures, both the UAV trailer and radar station are located next to the runway of the airfield, and the 3 LW-155 artillery guns are located near the main entrance to the base, just right outside the village. As for the vehicles that spawn here, 2 MH-60 Nighthawk transport helicopters and 1 AH-1Z Viper attack helicopter spawn at the helipads. 2 FA-18A Hornets will spawn in the hangars. 1 DPV will spawn near the radar station, 2 more DPVs will spawn in the lower level of the village, and 2 more DPVs will spawn at the upper level of the village. And finally, 2 RIBs will spawn down at the fishing shack under the bridge. As for the stationary emplacements, 1 Stinger AA emplacement is located near the helipads surrounded by sandbags. 1 BGM-71AT launcher is located next to the garrisonable building at the lower level of the village, and another one is located at the upper level next to a tree. The power plant is located south of the mountain lookout and is named such due to the large power plant building located here. The main entrance to this point is to the south nearby the power station next to the main road, but there is another entrance to the north up a hill nearby the helipad. The point is mostly surrounded by a fence, and this fence has 5 holes in it that infantry can use to enter and exit through. There are 2 civilian buildings, 2 carports, and the large power plant building here, as well as these 2 guard towers. No matter which faction controls the point, 1 tank, 1 APC, and 1 FAV will spawn near the power plant. Another APC and 2 more FAVs will spawn under the carport, and 1 transport helicopter will spawn at the helipad. As for the stationary emplacements, 1 LMG will spawn in each of the guard towers at the southern entrance, and 1 more LMG will spawn at the sandbags near the flagpole. The security headquarters is located west of the power plant. This point has 3 entrances, 2 in the north, one which goes down the mountain towards the west mine, and another that goes to the canyon guard point. The eastern entrance goes to the power plant. A fence partially surrounds the point and has holes in it that infantry can use to enter and exit through. There are 3 buildings and 1 carport located here, and this building near the radio towers can be garrisoned by infantry. No matter which faction controls the point, 1 APC and 1 FAV will spawn under the carport, and another FAV will spawn next to the garrisonable building. As for the stationary emplacements, 1 LMG is located on the sandbags in front of the flagpole, and 1 AA launcher is located next to this building nearby. The mountain lookout is one of the highest points on the map and is the closest neutral point to the US airfield, making it the easiest and quickest for the US team to capture. The point has 2 entrances to the north and east, both along the main road. There are 4 buildings and 2 carports here, as well as 2 guard towers at each of the entrances. There is also a small pavilion nearby. The point is also partially surrounded by a metal fence that has 2 holes in it for infantry to enter and exit through. No matter which faction controls the point, 2 APCs will spawn under this carport, and 1 FAV will spawn under the second carport. Another FAV will spawn near the flagpole. However, if the USMC control the point, in addition to the vehicles just mentioned, an M6 linebacker will spawn under the carport next to the FAV. As for the stationary emplacements, 1 LMG is located in each of the guard towers, and 1 AT launcher located between a few trees at the north entrance. The east mine entrance is, well, the entrance to the eastern mine control point on the map. It is located right below the mountain lookout. There are 2 main entrances to the point, one to the south leading to the west mine entrance, and one to the northwest. There are 4 industrial buildings, 2 guard towers, a carport, and these large, what I'm going to assume are coal storage silos. This building here near the flagpole can be garrisoned by infantry. The smokestack on the coal preparation plant can be climbed via a ladder and acts as a good location for snipers. This small silo here also has a ladder that infantry can use to climb to the top of it. The point has several fences around it, and these fences will have holes in them that infantry can utilize to move throughout the point. No matter which faction controls the point, 2 FAVs will spawn here near the garrisonable building. As for the stationary emplacements, 1 AA launcher will spawn here, surrounded by sandbags, and an LMG will spawn in the nearby guard tower. An AT launcher and LMG will spawn near the large industrial building next to the road. And finally, another LMG will spawn on the sandbags next to the flagpole. The west mine entrance is to the west of the east mine and is the largest control point on the map. There are 3 entrances into this point. one to the south that goes toward the canyon guard post, another that goes east toward the security headquarters, and another to the northeast near a bridge that leads to the east mine and the main road which leads up the mountain toward a dam and bridge that lead to the mountain lookout. There are a lot of industrial buildings here, but I'm only going to mention the ones closest to the point itself, those being these 6 buildings here, the actual entrance to the mine, 2 guard towers, and 3 large smokestacks. These 2 buildings at the northeast entrance can be garrisoned by infantry, and this large factory structure has a hallway that infantry can move through and take cover in. All 3 of the smokestacks here have ladders that infantry, especially snipers, can use to snipe at enemy infantry across much of the middle of the map. Even though the middle smokestack is the tallest structure on the map, the other smaller smokestacks actually provide a higher vantage point at the tops. Also, one can jump off the smokestacks and parachute down to the roof of the factory as well, and this is the only way to get onto the roof of it, as it has no ladders to climb. There are also a few fences around this point that have holes in them that infantry can use to move through. Regardless of which faction controls the point, 2 FAVs will spawn here, one right in front of the mine entrance, and another right next to this tallest smokestack. As for the stationary emplacements here, one LMG is in the tower at the northeast entrance. An AA launcher spawns at the top of this building north of the flagpole. An AT launcher will spawn near some stairs next to the middle smokestack. And 2 LMGs will spawn in front of the mine entrance close to the flagpole, facing east and west. The Canyon Guard Post is the smallest control point on the map in terms of its size, and is the closest neutral control point to the Chinese airfield, making it the easiest and quickest for the Chinese team to capture. There are 3 entrances to this point, one to the south toward the Chinese airfield, one to the north toward the west mine entrance, and one to the east taking the road all the way to the security headquarters. There are 3 buildings, 1 carport, and 1 bunker here, as well as a few HESCO walls. Regardless of which faction controls the point, 2 APCs will spawn under the carport, and an FAV spawns next to one of the buildings. As for the stationary emplacements, 1 LMG spawns on the sandbags next to the flagpole, and another one spawns in the bunker facing the south entrance. 1 AT launcher will spawn next to the carport facing the east entrance. The bridge camp is the second highest point on the map, west of the eastern mine and east of the upper camp. There are 2 entrances to this point, one to the east with 1 road leading down to the dam, and the other road leading all the way toward the mountain lookout. The second entrance is at the west of the point, leading to the upper camp. There are 4 buildings and a carport here, as well as 2 silos and a radio tower. One of the silos has a ladder that infantry can use to climb to the top of it, and this building here can be garrisoned by infantry. There is a fence that surrounds the point, with 2 holes in it for infantry to enter and exit through. Regardless of which faction controls the point, 1 FAV and 1 APC will spawn near the radio tower, and 1 more FAV spawns under the carport. Only 2 stationary emplacements are located here, 1 LMG right next to the flagpole, and 1 AA launcher to the south of the flagpole, surrounded by sandbags. The upper camp is a large farming village to the north of the Chinese airfield, and is the second largest point on the map. The point has 2 entrances, one to the west that goes across the dam towards the airfield, or north up a hill, and the other is to the east, going towards the bridge camp. There are 14 civilian buildings, 3 shacks, and a pavilion in the center of the village, next to the flagpole. These 3 buildings here can be garrisoned by infantry. Regardless of which faction controls the point, 2 APCs spawn south of the pavilion, 1 tank spawns to the north of the pavilion, a transport helicopter will spawn at the helipad, and 2 FAVs will spawn next to this house, by the dirt road. However, if the PLA control the point, in addition to the vehicles I just mentioned, a Type 95 SPAAA vehicle will spawn here. Only 1 LMG emplacement will spawn here at one of the windows in the wall. So there are a few other locations throughout the map that are not control point locations, but I do think are of interest to mention. There is a small homestead west of the US Airfield across the bridge that players using ground vehicles will pass up on their way over to the power plant. There is also this industrial building right outside the west mine entrance that can be garrisoned by infantry. This exact same building model is also located at the west mine entrance itself. There is also a fence around this building with holes in it that infantry can move through. In the middle of the map, there are these 2 what I'm going to call water pumping stations nearby the east mine entrance. These buildings can also be seen on other maps, such as Dalian Plant. Infantry can access these buildings from the river and climb up a ladder up to the top of them, where there is also a nearby room that they can use to take cover in. In the 16-player version of the map, this is a control point location called The Island that players on both teams will have to fight to capture as they fight their way across the battlefield of FuShePass.